Guys, it's just Jook Man here once again. How's this for a story? And this is a true story. This is no bullshit. This hasn't been made up. This was a true story. There was this old bloke who used to go into this shop and he struck a friendship with this young guy who was just talking to him, walking to his shop. They got a conversation happening, and every time he went into his shop, they got to know each other. And the young guy was listening to all the old guy's stories, and the guy would tell him every time he walked into his shop, he'd tell him a story. Anyway, the young guy would always greet him, "Oh, g'day, good morning, and how are you today?" And like you should be greeted when you walk into a shop, politely. Anyway, so they got talking, and this went on for years and years. And every time he went to the shop, he always looked forward. This old bloke always looked forward going to this shop. He'd walk in and, "How are you today, Jack?" "Yeah, good, good. How are you?" "Yeah, not too bad, thanks, Jack. If you want anything, just let us know and we'll fix you. We'll get it. Well, whatever you want, we'll fix it up. No worries." And over many, many years, this old guy used to come into the shop, and they got talking. They got to know each other, but they become sort of like a friends. But it was strictly business. Anyway, one day come and old Jack didn't walk into the shop. Anyway, this young bloke who was in his 30s, he's wondering, where's old Jack? And this is, he's waiting. Over all those years of, every time he come into his shop, he got a, friendship happening and a story happening. Anyway, he got a note handed from Jack to this young bloke, written by Jack. And it says, "Hi Jack, if you're reading this letter, I have passed on." And this young guy started tearing up. And he thought, wow, it's been a pleasure. And he kept reading the note. He says, old Jack says, "Out of all these human beings on this planet, you're the only bloke that had time to talk to me on a level basis and treat me how I like to be treated, like a good human being should be treated." And the story went on, and Jack was reading, the young bloke was reading Jack's story, and that he'd known this old guy for, I don't know, 10 years. And the young bloke looked forward to Jack coming into his shop and having a conversation, Anyway, the guy kept reading Jack's letter, and as the young guy had a tear coming down his eyes, and it said, "I wish you nothing but the best, and I can't thank you enough while I've been on this planet for treating me like you did. I've left you a little surprise." And the young guy was like, anyway, the moral to the story. So Jack left a fair amount of money to this young bloke. And the moral to the story is, no matter who you speak to, you should always be polite and get to know someone and treat them how you want to be treated, because that's all they want out of life. You never know who you're dealing with, and that was a good story. Jack had left his house, and I won't say the amount of money that he left him. And it was just a happy story. Sad in one way because Jack died. Jack passed away. And the young bloke, over 15 years of getting know Jack passed away and left this young bloke a fair amount of money and stuff. But it's the moral to the story. You should always be polite to people and treat people with respect, because you don't know who that person is. Alright guys, that's just a true story that I heard that was passed on to me through someone else telling me this true story. And I was like, wow, what a story, eh? So that's just one story. And the moral to the story is you should be polite and use your manners when you're speaking to people. It's common courtesy. But anyway, that was a great story to Jack's ending, and a happy ending to that young guy that got to know Jack. Alright guys, as I always say, look after your mental health and have a great day.